All right, we did it. We finally made it. Lots of logistics to get over here, but we got it.
Episode 3.
What is Hunt for More?
The Hunt for More.
The Hunt for More podcast.
If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right. So, as be it with the podcast, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right.
Episode 3. We're here. Episode 2 was Who is Cole Johnson? A man of many ventures.
The man of misfortune.
One day at a time,
Oh,
like
yeah.
old Jerry said.
Yeah, that's another update. The old Quail Forever
That's
banquet
good.
highlight
Yeah, it was
there in
a good time.
Dallas. It's pretty sick. Got to shake Jerry Jones's hand.
I mean, you would think, I'll be honest. I'm not a Cowboys fan. Never have been, never will be. Naturally, when Jerry got up to speak, I was like, okay, yeah, all right, man. What is this going to be about, Cowboys are terrible. They've been terrible for a while. A lot of terrible decision-making in the front office. I just didn't expect the powerhouse of a leadership speech to come out of Jerry Jones' mouth. However, why would it not? You got a guy worth $20 billion. Obviously, he's a good leader up to some degree.
To be honest, that's about the only speech I'd expect.
Yeah, it was really.
I'm shocked. It shocked you.
It was I mean, honestly, it was a great speech, man. You never hear anything. I guess in the outside world looking in, there's not a whole lot of people. It seems like on the football arena, people are real critical of Jerry, but in the more private sector, local community, I've never heard a bad thing about him. I've heard he's a great dude, and he 100% put that on display in his speech last night, and it was pretty awesome.
For sure. Now, if he got up there and made a speech about how to get a football team to
I'd be like,
let's
not your arena, my
stay in
man.
our lane here.
Saving quail,
But-
talking about hunting, talking about fatherhood and your children. It was solid, like 10 for 10.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
he's
really
a good dude.
cool.
So that was fun.
Dallas is a pretty cool place to live, man.
Yeah.
A lot of events always going on
Yeah,
down there.
a lot of good people out last night, and it was fun. It was a good time. I'm not a quail guy. I mean, I should. I've hunted a lot of quail.
shoot
I've shot
quail.
a lot of quail. I have a GSP. Some would say I might be a quail guy, but I'm one of those. You're just gonna bust through the mesquite till the coveys pop out, and that's how I do it. So, episode 3.
Cole, get us kicked off here. Episode 3.
Oh, man. Welcome back to the Hunt for More podcast, episode 3. Today we're going to talk about Trent, or Teddy, and kind of dive into his life and kind of what he does on the day-to-day and just everything, all the ins and outs.
No, we're not gonna talk about the
dude,
ins and
I
outs.
like
We
it.
can't. But
Birds and
Well,
bees.
I'm saying him as a person.
Oh, gosh. Where do we even start with me? Leave me off with like a pointed
let's
question.
time out. We can just introduce yourself, who you are. No, just who are you? Who are you? We're not editing this, are we?
I don't know. Depends.
No. Who are you? Who are you?
So,
And what makes you you? I'm gonna throw some heaters. So just be ready.
Oh, Ryan better not steal my heater.
Huh?
Yeah, we got a real good spear.
Oh, what do you got?
Sharpened.
What do you got?
You know what I got.
No, I have no idea what he's got.
yeah, man. Hunt for more. All the things. I am Trent Teddy Meisel. I'm an Air Force guy by trade, for sure. And one of the bigger things that we talked about, we kind of mentioned in the previous episode, is that I'm kind of the black sheep here, if you will. I was the late joiner to the hunting world. So I was going to talk
We call that an adult onset hunter.
late onset hunting.
I think it's just an adult on. You're the problem for a lot of things in the hunting industry. Just
Oh, really?
FYI. However, we got to get you. It's recruitment. They say.
Gosh.
All right, spear number 1. But that's what I was going to talk about first and foremost. Is as we get everything kicked off, was that little guy right there, my first ever deer that I ever killed. And that moment right there was like, I don't think hunting's for me. I was in 9th grade. Yeah. Killed
8th grade?
No, 9th grade.
No, you're not an
Okay.
adult onset hunter then.
You got to hear the story, Mr. Interrupter. Is I went deer hunting and it's a friend's dad at the time. I was like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to kill a buck this year. So we went out a couple times for like just easy afternoon, didn't see anything, but it was like cold snap hit. And he was like, hey, man, this is the weekend. Like, get up for it morning and night, all 4 days. Like, we're getting after it. It's a long weekend. So Friday morning, go sit, go eat lunch, go sit Friday afternoon, nothing. Repeat Saturday, and then all day Sunday, and then absolutely nothing. Then the blizzard hit like Saturday night. So we get out there, it's like -5 degrees, wind chill. It's 40-mile-an-hour winds in Oklahoma. We got like a whopping 4 inches of snow. So it was like a really big deal. All the roads were closed. So it took us forever to get out there. And it's about noon. And he was like, all right, man, I think we got to call it. It's been like we hunted hard for 3 days, but we got to call it, man. It's like, okay. And so I'm actually wearing cowboy boots because it's all I had. My toes are like, I'm getting frostbite actively. And so I'm literally doing jumping jacks in the blind, trying to like warm my body back up. And he was like, hey, dude, there's a buck like 40 yards out there. I was shooting a 20 gauge slug and with a little red dot sight on it. And I was like, yeah, good one, man. Like that loud. And he was like, sit down, shut the hell up. There's a deer. And I like peeked through the little corner. I was like, dude, no way, there's a deer. And he was like, shh. you know my personality. Ryan's hunting with me. He's like, you're the loudest person. Stop being so loud. I was like, dude, there's a deer. And he was like, shut up. So end up shooting the deer, and I was like, man, I don't know if that was worth it. That was like 4 days of misery. I just like it didn't click with me, you know. Uh, and so that was like the last time I really went hunting per se, and then went through all of college, and then kind of started getting back into it in college. Me and my buddy would go coyote hunting in Colorado. That was a blast. In like the eastern plains of Colorado, lots of coyotes out there. So kind of got back into it that way. And then all my buddies started duck hunting whenever we were back in Oklahoma for pilot training. And that's like once the duck hunting hooks set in, you know, then it was like, well, I love all of this. And kind of I walked back into deer hunting, and then it's just been at that point, it was like that first season of duck hunting. I think the very first day we hit like a 6-man limit. And then the next day we shot like 47 geese off a wheat field. I was like, hunting is cool.
Yes, I would.
You know?
I would definitely argue that you're not an adult onset hunter.
Yeah. I don't know. Just feel like a late bloomer in that regard, you know?
Yeah, I mean, killing a good buck in 9th grade is you got quite the head start on 97% of the hunting industry.
Yeah.
I didn't hate that. That part was really cool, but then I don't know why. I was just like, that wasn't really like worth it to me. That was
What'd
a lot
you?
more
I
fun.
mean, when you shot it, what'd you feel? Were you just like, ah, whatever? You didn't like cry and like get all emotional or anything?
No, I mean, I was super excited. I guess another part of that story is I didn't have my hunting license with me, and my parents were at church that Sunday morning, or they're leaving church, and I was like 45 minutes east of town, and I had called my dad, and I was like, Dad, I totally left my hunting license on your desk. Like, can you drive it out to me? He was like, it's been snowing for 2 days, dude. And I was like, sorry, man, I need it. So he drives out there as we're cutting the deer apart and cleaning it. And he was like, you're an idiot, dude. You're so dumb. It's like, yeah, that's my bad. So, but
Jimbo.
I was excited. It just, the fire like didn't really start yet, you know?
Yeah, no, that's
I
fair.
don't really know why.
That's fair.
It was weird.
Yeah. You're not the loudest guy in the woods either. You're not the loudest guy in the woods either. You said, I know I've hunted with you. I don't feel like you're the loudest guy in the woods.
Literally the last time we were
You're the
sitting in
second.
blind, you were like, what did you say? You're like, Tanner is quieter than you.
I don't think it was you. I don't think it was you. I think it's pretty sure it's Jimbo.
Well, that's very fair. He he got pneumonia. He was like, let's go deer hunting. It's like, that's not going to work out well, dude. Like the whole morning, I was like, you better overdose on cough syrup on our way where we're driving down there. It didn't help at all.
Jimbo is Trent's dad, and he's a real hoot to hunt with.
Yeah.
Real hoot.
Man, me and Ryan worked real hard to get him his first deer this year. And that poor guy just could not figure it out. But yeah, that's my start for how to get into the whole hunting space, you know. And it was I guess I'm not as late of a bloomer as possible, but the hooks really set in whenever I was in my early 20s per se. So that was the start. I don't know if I've told either one of you guys that story about the old the first deer ever there.
No, I didn't know
No,
that.
that's super cool.
I was
Yeah, and I think it's cool, like to hear other people's like stories of how they got into hunting, especially like some people that didn't like just click right away. Because like for me, when I first got into hunting, it just like clicked. So it was like I never knew anything different. So it's kind of cool
yeah.
to like hear how somebody else got exposed to it and kind of how they felt.
I thought it was awesome. You were talking just like talking about your sheep story on your first day of your senior year kind of thing. Um, but so the reason I wanted to kick off with that story of like I didn't like see the whole picture. I think that's kind of the crucial part of the story. And as life went on and continued to progress, as I realized that there is a whole lot more to this. So like my reason, like what is the hunt for more for me? Is I didn't coin this phrase by any means, but like hunting really is healing for me. And I've really learned this last year is not even me being the person that's doing the hunting. I think sometimes I actually will put myself too far down on the list where I don't get to do it even enough, you know?
Yeah, I've
Um,
watched that this year. I tried to, I've
so
given you my fair shots about that.
yeah, you absolutely have. But for
Yeah.
me, it's dude, it's sharing it's sharing the experience of that. It's watching somebody else get to have that emotional roller coaster, not just me being the person on that emotional roller coaster of like the deer showed up but he didn't give me a shot, or the elk showed up but he didn't give me a shot, or um, like working really really hard to like trying to share the deeply rooted passion that I have for it with
Mm-hmm.
other people, even though like if you want to call it like my scope of like this deeply rooted passion is this big compares like how much experience that you guys have, like I love it just as much, even though I don't know as much about it as you guys do, or don't have as many things hanging on the walls of my house. Like it is by far my favorite thing to do in the entire world. It's like, and I want to share that with everyone. I want to share it with our kids, and I want to share it with my family specifically. Like my dad was the big thing this year.
Right.
Because like I told you guys, like I told you I shot my first deer with a friend's dad. Like, because my dad was just never into it, and his justification was like, I don't like to eat deer, so I'm not going to shoot something I'm not going to eat. It's like, well, it's fair. So now I've got him on the train of like, I'll eat the shit out of the deer that you shoot, but like, I want you to shoot a deer. Turns out it's a lot taller ask than I thought it would.
Oh boy, yeah, it's a rough one.
I think we can talk about that in a little bit. If you
I
guys
mean,
want
even
to,
for me
but
though, like we joke with old Jimbo, but that's there's not a hunt that I've enjoyed more than that the old pig night,
oh man,
because it was just so like no stress. Like this is not gonna work. It's not supposed to work. He has no idea what he's doing. He's coughing. He can't find the deer in the scope. Like there was zero pressure, and we still shot two pigs.
yeah.
And a
Well,
deer, a very nice deer, walked on to see another day. But
yeah, I
it
can
was
see it.
just like that hunt was fun. It was fun. It was just I had a good time. I was not there for any other reason than to just sit there and hang out, and
Yeah,
it was like one of those things that like it's fun, super low expectation.
yeah.
um,
Dude, I think this is important too. So I'll walk through the progression and the lifespan of trying to get my dad, as we call him, Jimbo Slice, to kill a deer this year, right? So we we went down this summer, set up a feeder, and built a redneck hunting blind out down there in Texas, and just got everything set up cameras. I'll show my dad how to like access the Tacticam and how to work the app. So that's like step one. And then as the months go on, deer season rolls around, and I finally got some time available. So we're going down to Texas trying to get Jimbo to shoot a deer. And night one, don't really see anything. Then on the second ever hunt that we go on, I take my dad to go, like, dad's shooting a deer. Ryan gets to go. That was part one. Um, and we bring Tanner with us as well. I think you actually came out. You came out for the first time, and then you brought Tanner on the second one. I don't remember anything.
the first time we didn't have Tanner.
Yeah. So the very first one, the deer did not show up to our feeder. There was actually another feeder that's on the property of some guy that's lived down there that's been hunting. And then feeder goes off, and that deer bites off on that feeder, and it walks out to like 500 yards, and he's just not committed, but he's about to leave our property. And I was like, Dad, you just got to send it. And I told him, like, that gun shoots great out to 300 yards. Don't worry about it. At 500, though, like, I didn't look up. I haven't had time to build an elevation chart, but I was like, dude, throw it like right over, like about 6 inches over his back. It should shoot well. Like, I was shooting at steel out of 500 with it. It should be fine. It's like, okay. And so he takes a shot, misses it low. He was like, you told me to put it right on him. I'm like, he's 500 yards away, dude. Like, that ain't gonna, it's not gonna work. So the deer lives, no big deal. He missed low. We saw the dirt splash.
Way
It's
low.
fine. So we got on there, I think either the next night or the next weekend, and we go again. And this time we bring Ryan's little one around, and so just he could watch if we shoot a pig or whatever. So pig shows up at like 5:30. We shoot him, and then another deer shows up. Start walking to a feeder, and there's a pig on it. So we're like, well, I'm not sure how this is gonna work out. And then right at last light, it's like that pig just teleported from this feeder that's 400 yards away to 50 yards in front of us.
It's
behind,
on
like, a
the
blind.
far clear end of the whole. It's like a canyon right there.
Yeah.
Like from one pasture drops off kind of like a bluff, drops into a real deep canyon. It's about, I don't know, 800 yards across the bottom right there to where the hill
Yeah.
goes back up into another pasture. And that feeder is all the way all the way on the very bottom of that bottom. And I was sitting there and I'm like, there's a big old pig right there. Like, that big old pig is on that feeder steer, and the deer's coming up. And then all of a sudden the pig vanished.
Yeah, so we're trying to get, so the setting here is that we're all like in the glass looking at this feeder that's 400 yards away, trying to figure out where that deer is going to pop out of the trees and get into an opening at. So we're trying to figure out a way to make this happen. We're all in the glass, and then Ryan pulls his glass down. And sure enough, that pig had kind of moved off the feeder. We didn't know where he went. And like in 7 seconds, he went from 400 yards away to like 40 yards in front of us. And Ryan was like, oh, there's the pig. He's right there. And so at this point, my dad had adjusted the scope since he missed low yesterday for a 350 to 400 yard shot, because we did have that one dialed. And so he dials in a 350 yard shot, and this pig is 40 yards in front of him. So he grabs a gun, swings it around, and shoots at this pig 40 yards, and it hits a foot over his back. And he was like, really?
It's like out completely as loud as you. Really?
Like yells at this pig. And so this pig's like, I'm getting out of here. And his poor little legs are just running him as fast
This
as
is
they
the
can
big
go.
one of the biggest pigs I've ever seen. No, poor little pig. This is a giant pig. He takes off at a dead sprint.
He goes up the hill and he stops at like 300 yards. And Ryan, without hesitation, like at this point, it was like Ryan was just a guest on our hunting land. He just wanted to be there for a party. And he was like, this pig is not living. There was no conversation. There was no consulting. Is like, he swung his gun around. And as soon as that pig stopped to like look to see what that ruckus was, I mean, he just ate the old Arrowhead 6.5 PRC to the shoulder. And then he shoots it and he looks at me and he's like, dude, I'm so sorry. Like I just kind of took over. Like, it was just muscle memory at that point. I don't know what to tell you. And I was like, no, man, like, it's fine. Like,
Oh,
I want
man.
the pig dead. But he was like, I didn't even ask. I'm so sorry. And I was like, dude, it's good. But, and the best part was
I
like,
said that he wasn't leaving. He was not, because
No.
he was about to top to the top of the bluff, and he would have gone in the wheat field to the south and been gone. I was like, he ain't leaving here.
so
Too
Jimbo
big.
missed a deer at about 500, which is fair. And then he missed a pig at 40, which is not okay in any realm of the world. Like, he couldn't hit a barn door with a BB gun. And so it was just a whole debacle. Then we go down a few more times. He gets pneumonia and he's trying to deer hunt. That didn't work well. And then one other day we find a deer and he can't find him in the sight. But so it's just a hard hunting year, just all the learning, right? But we get back and I was like, I was talking to him. We were having lunch one day and I was like, man, I just really wish you could have got it done. And the whole reason we tell this whole funny story is that, like, my dad, who has just started hunting this year at the age of 60, was like, dude, I never cared about the deer. Like, think about all the time that me and you got in the truck driving back and forth this year that we didn't get to, working on building fences down there, building that blind, setting up the feeder. He was like, we got to hang out more this deer season than we have in the last 3 years because you've been gone working. And I was like, that's a really good point. So, like, for him, it's not the deer, it's the guys you're hunting with, right? Because I told him, I was like, I mean, dude, we got a pattern built. you could go sit on this morning. He's like, I just don't want to go down there if you're not going to go there. Like he just wants to do it with me, right? Which I think we all have guys in our life that we're like that with, you know. Like I had a group of guys that I went to Colorado with and elk hunted, and now it's like, well, when are the boys going back to Colorado to figure out how to do another elk hunt? You know, it's just you just build these bonds, and these memories, and these friendships, and around this whole thing of hunting, and it just is always so much more than just the animal. You know, I think that's
Well, that's
been
like
one of
what I
like
told you last night.
the coolest things.
One of the cool things Jerry Jones said in his little speech there was never was about the hunting. He don't remember a whole lot of the animals he's ever killed with his dad or his boys, but he always remembers every person he hunted with.
Yeah,
And it was kind of like to hear him say that, it was like, all right, cool. Like,
yeah, that's
this
sick.
is cool. Like, not that we don't, not that you don't remember the animals, but it was his way of saying that it meant far more to him who he was hunting with than what he was actually hunting. And I
Yeah.
felt that when we were hunting with Jimbo, just like, who really cares what happens? We're just out here having fun, laughing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I was just talking to him as we got on the phone, and he was like, "Oh, tell Ryan I said hi. Like, hope he's doing well." Blah blah. I was like, "Ryan, like you and Jimbo have a relationship now. Like, we have bonds built over living deer and dead pigs."
Oh,
You
man.
know, and so it's just another thing of like, man, and like just kind of Jerry hit it on like nail on the head there. It's like I don't remember a whole lot of the animals, but I sure do remember the guys that I was out there with. You know.
Yeah.
So that was a really like cool perspective from a guy that's literally has not hunted for 60 years of his life and like immediately gets it, you know? It's like we need more of that in this world. You know? Like it's not just about the wall hangers, you know, like that little guy is he's not the biggest deer in the entire world, but like I'm proud of him. First deer I ever killed, like, and there's memories associated with that, right? So
Right. I mean, we're still here. We're still here to kill something. However, the caveat is you gotta have fun doing it.
yeah. Like did you guys have fun last week on the ibex hunt?
I still had fun, but
no, I had
Yeah.
I had fun. I'm just joking.
I think I
My
always
man
have fun
said,
hunting.
No, I my entire job last week was to sit in the lawn chair in the desert floor in glass. It's not a fun job, but it was fun.
Yeah. The old Jimmy there.
Ryan.
Glassing with Jimmy.
Ryan had a bad run-in with some Mexican candies.
Oh.
Do not recommend.
Oh yeah, no, I got real
Tore 'em
sick on the
up.
last night. I don't know.
Yeah. Had gluten.
No.
Dude, you look at gluten and there's no sleeping in the tent or the camper with you. My goodness.
Yeah, no, it was. I don't know. Just I got a weird like headache, not feeling good at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I had fun. I really had fun. It wasn't a big deal. It is what it is. I've got so many things going on in life right now that anytime I get to do anything other than those things, it's a good time.
Yeah. I will say, I think we should send out a little disclaimer here to the fellas on the old Hunt for More podcast is all of our lives are super busy. So we're trying to be as consistent as possible, but it's hard sometimes. 3 guys.
Yeah, no,
we're doing our best.
Episode 2 dropped and it was kind of silent for a week and a half or so. Cole and I were out hunting. Trent's in pilot upgrade training, doing things, and I've got a lot going on at the moment that is just consuming my every moment. And it just life. That is life. But that's what this podcast is real people.
I think as we kind of moving forward, dude, I wanted to talk about those 2 stories because it was kind of the 2 pieces there for me are like, even though I was kind of late to get it, and it's cool that my dad, who is quite literally the definition of like late onset adult hunter, gets it immediately without having anything to show for it, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
But kind of the next part I wanted to talk about was, so I am a pilot in the Air Force, and last year, or I guess it's been 2 years now, in 2023, as I just had a mishap. I had an incident where I ended up playing a jet in the earth, and it changes you, man. Is for the guys that walk around this world that have like looked at death in the eyeball for whether it's a second, for a few minutes, few hours, or a few days, it is a visceral and is a life-changing experience. I think that was one of the biggest pieces of like what really set apart like what alone time in the mountains really is for me, man. It is.
I want to
cut in for a second, and I mean, I know what we can and can't talk about, but I think you should go a little bit more into, if you feel comfortable,
Okay.
kind of that process what happens there. For
You
people
talking
that
about
aren't familiar, you and I talking, we already know what happened. We
Yeah,
know,
like kind of like for me, I mean, I have no idea about some of that stuff, you know. Like
yeah.
I think
yeah.
it's super like cool, kind of intriguing.
Um, I gotta be pretty. I'll stay
Yep.
vague with it,
Yep.
obviously. So I'll give you the short and dirty of it all. Is that we took off and it was just a terrible weather day. It was raining cats and dogs. Clouds were almost down at the surface, all the way up to the moon. And we take off, and I start having some issues with my jet where I get to the point where I can't navigate the way I'm supposed to in the weather. You know, whenever you're flying through clouds, it's just like driving through really thick fog. Really, it's like you can't see anything out in front of you. You're just in this gray bubble, and no matter how your airplane is oriented, everything looks and feels the exact same. And then sometimes your eardrums will start playing tricks on you. So you're like, okay, I'm just gonna trust what I'm looking at here. And I
Mhm.
got to the point where all the things in my airplane that I could look at, like, were no longer helping me. And so the next thing I know, I'm pointed straight at the earth, and I pop out of the weather that was very, very low, and I'm just looking at a rice paddy in South Korea. uh, and I'm going about 400 knots at that point, and I had about a split second. I was like, I remember trying to fly the airplane away from the ground, and it's almost, they always talk about, like, in these moments, time stands still. And I never believed that. I thought
Mhm.
that was weird. But
Yeah.
for the amount of thoughts and processes that my brain went through, it really did feel like time was standing still for a second, where I saw the ground. I knew that I'm going to hit that dirt if I don't do something with my jet. And so I start to try to recover the airplane, and it feels like I tried to recover the airplane for an eternity, but it wasn't recovering. There's nothing I could do with it. And as I continue to try to recover this airplane, it's like I stop and I can do quick mental math of, like, here's this big circle, and then here's the dirt, and like this airplane is going into that dirt, and there's nothing I can do to fly my way out of this one. And then without hesitating, just reach down and pull the ejection handle, and it's like just getting punched in the face by the wrath of God. Going 400 miles an hour, you stick your hand out the window going down the highway, kind of, jerks your arm back, and you're like, man, that's a lot of wind. Just if you throw your whole body out of that, going 400 miles an hour, it's not. It's like getting punched in the face, but all over your entire body. And so the parachute opens, everything looks good, and so one of the things, like, we'll kind of talk about this, is like hunting is healing for me. Is there's a visceral moment of that entire day. It's not taking off and starting to have issues with my jet. I vaguely, not vaguely, I like very distinctly remember, as my parachute opens, I watched my airplane hit the rice paddy and just turn into like a fireball. And there's actually a video of it on the internet that some security camera in South Korea caught footage of it. But I watched that happen, and then really it's the sound of it, is like being behind a jet engine, as Ryan knows, is a very, very loud place to be. If you're in front of one, it's not as bad, but the moment you get behind an airplane that's got a jet engine on it, it's just sound of
Mhm.
freedom, really. But it didn't sound like that day. Nothing about that day was free. And I remember the sound of that jet airplane, or the jet engine, really hitting the earth and exploding, and watching the
It's wild.
fireball develop. It's like every time I
Yeah.
close my eyes, like, if I'm not careful, like, that's where my mind goes. I can just hear it, just that visceral noise. I can like feel it almost still,
Mhm.
even though it's been almost 2 years. I can still hear it, and I can still feel that moment. That's like the worst part of the entire day for me, was that. And that's brought its challenges into. I mean, I'm proud to say that I'm still flying, but it has its challenges. Like, I have days where it's bad weather and I'm scheduled to go fly, and I don't want to. But someone once told me that, like, if you don't fight the demons, they continue to get bigger and bigger in your mind. And so, like, there's a lot of days where I don't want to go fly, but all the other guys in the squadron are willing to go up and do it. And so, like, one, I owe them that. They deserve to be able to count on me to be able to go fly in weather. Like, nobody enjoys doing it, but it's part of the job description, so you go do it. But I earned it, and like, I earned my right to be there, but it's not something I earned it, and it's free now. Like, I got to continue to do that. And like, I want the guys in the squadron to know that, like, they can count on me just as much as I can count on them. So um, if you don't fight those demons, they continue to get bigger. And every time I go fly in the weather, it's uh, without a fail, I have my heart, like heart starts racing. Like I wear a Garmin watch occasionally, and like I looked down at it the other day, and it was terrible weather, and heart rate's like 180. I was like, good God Almighty.
I know. So
You know,
Trent will text me sometimes about weather and about to go fly, and I hope it works for you. But I always try and crack jokes and
yeah.
give you a hard
Don't
time.
plan a jet today. Let's try to land this one. Those are real expensive. You can't be throwing them into the dirt every now and then.
Yeah, I always try to just put
Ruthless.
the jabs in there, just like because I know you know the heart rate, the stress, the anxiety, and I'm on this end thinking, let me just make fun of him for a minute,
Yeah.
and he'll stop that'll stop the cycle for a moment. He'll laugh.
How can I help this man? Spear.
Yeah.
But
tear him down.
But to be fair, I mean that's where I guess this part of the podcast will be very military-esque. Is like that is just
That's how it is.
if you're part of any community, whether it was a football team in high school or you're in the military now, like you get it. It's dark humor is always open, especially in our lives. So, and it does help. And like guys in the squadron do the same thing. It's ingrained into us. I think they call it trauma bonding is the legal term for it. But like everyone goes through these same hardships, and some are different, some are not. But if you are in the military, like you just understand like there's things we all went through that they just suck, and so we all get it. Like before I even met Ryan, someone said that he was like, oh yeah, he's a really big hunter, he's in the Air Force. Like as soon as they said he's in the Air Force, I knew this much about Ryan. Now there's all of this as well, and there's a lot more to Ryan than that. But I've got a pretty good. Obviously there's exceptions to the rule, right? But you feel like you got a pretty good standing on somebody. Cole, you're a wild card. Turns out I liked you, so here we are.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like that's the thing. It's like in those jokes, they're funny and they do help, and it does take your mind off of it for a second, and it reminds you like laughing is a good thing, and like I'm happy that I'm still here. Like me laughing to that joke that's albeit very dark, but like I got to read that text. I got to be there because I was about 2 seconds away from not getting to that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the other
and I'll say something for a minute there. Like I have my own traumatic experience in the military that we'll talk about
next week
on my episode, but it was never the dude that came up or the person that was very somber and like we're here for you. It was all fake to me. It was the dude that made fun of you that was real, right?
Yeah.
It was the dudes that came up to you and tried to make you laugh, you knew that was genuine, that was of course they were all there for you, right? That goes without being said. If you have to say it, you're not the guy, right?
Yeah.
It was the dudes that were pick you back up in the right spot and kind of continue hey man, we're here, we're gonna make it.
Yeah.
And life is normal.
It's like the guys that do crack those jokes. It's not because they want to make fun of you, make you feel worse. They want to make you laugh, dude, because they get it.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Yeah.
Somebody has no idea would never say something like that to somebody else, right? No. But it's not the act of them making a joke or what the joke is. It's that the joke means, and that like that person relates to you and they understand what that feels like.
Yeah.
And they're trying to make you feel better.
Yeah. I'm trying to bring your heartbreak back down.
Yeah. It normally doesn't work, but it's fine. No. Apparently there's something about like container breathing or something that helps. But
the box breathing. That's right.
We don't say that word. But
yeah, I might freak out if you tell me you crash a jet. I don't know if I'll just make fun of you right away.
Yeah, I don't see Cole.
Might be like, oh, good God.
But yeah, man. I mean, and so whenever I talk about like hunting is healing, healing also, I want to speak about that on a second too. Is like healing is almost never fun. Because people talk about healing is like you paradise and you finally feel better. It's like, no, dude, that's horseshit. Healing is like you like wade through the shit and you find a solution. You find like really what your answer is. It's not like some hunky-dory thing. And the thing I hated ever since May 6, 2023 is silence. I hated it. I couldn't do it because silence meant I could hear that airplane hitting the jet or hitting the ground every single time. Silence meant my mind would start to wander and I'd watch that airplane hit the ground. I'd watch that fireball develop every single time. And my heart would start going up, start thinking about that, or I'd start thinking about flying in the weather and something going wrong again. Like, what am I going to do next time if it happens? Like you just start the death spiral and you can't stop it. That's what silence was for me, man. And a good segue here is I got to go on an elk hunt last year, and it was 10 days of silence, and that there's parts of it that were excited, that were so exhilarating, so awesome, and killed my first ever elk this year, and I made it a goal in Korea even before the crash. Is kind of the other big segue into me like really diving deep into hunting is I had no way to hunt out there, and so I just fell in love with YouTube hunting as throw all the spears, or not all of it's 100% accurate or whatever you want, right? But watching YouTube hunting videos was way more real than watching like the outdoor channel to me,
Yeah.
because they're just regular guys that are sharing their passion with the world. Now, some of
Yeah.
them aren't, they don't do it in the best way, but I mean, hell, everyone's chasing the same thing. Now, the reasons may be different, but I found that I could relate to these dudes that were making these videos. And so I made it a goal. Like, my dream is I want to be an archery. I want to be an archery guy.
Who's your favorite dude?
Uh, Talking about favorite guys that I like to
Yeah.
watch hunting.
Yeah, the YouTube guys. What was your favorite ones deployed?
Whenever I was there, dude, I watched pretty much every single one of the Born and Raised and every single one of the Hushin videos. I mean, they've got a lot out there. They do this full time, but
Yeah.
I watched an elk video every single day for probably about 6 months straight, and it was one of those two guys. And both of those YouTube channels have like teams of people, and so you get to know the different personalities and so on and so forth. Actually, I want to say the guy's name is Trent as well. On the Born and Raised guys, he's kind of the husky guy with the beard, real funny, and I was like, I like this guy. I can relate to him. And forgive me for if I misspeak here, but I want to say that it was the Born and Raised crew, and they took a paralyzed veteran out on an elk hunt out in Colorado, got him a fancy like all-terrain wheelchair and so on and so forth. And it was the first video I watched that wasn't just about an animal; it was about a hunter. I was like, man, that is just like really incredible. So that was in, let's call it April. My mishap happened in May, and in September I had this, call it a vision from God, a dream, whatever it is, to start Fortune Hunting Co. this year. And so that's kind of the timeline there. So I watched this video and I was like, that was incredible. Like, there's something different about that. Like, there needs to be more of this in the world. And so then I started seeking it out, trying to find more videos that were like that. Couldn't. It was the only one I could see. And I just woke up one day, man. I was like, dude, you can't find these things. I mean, it's typical. It's like, if you can't find the thing you want, make it,
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where like this whole dream came around. And to kind of tie all these pieces together is I started this organization where we take guys hunting to make videos for YouTube that aren't about the killing of the animal, but about the hunter themselves, and to share stories like that. Because after my incident, I got a lot of opportunities to go speak to different groups and people, and I got to talk to the maintainers that worked on my jet. I got to talk to the guys that recertified the ejection seat that saved my life. I got to talk to all the pilots that were in the room about what happened and how they can prevent that from happening to them, or if it does happen to them, how to handle it, or handle it hopefully better, right? So I got to just be the front runner of a lot of these conversations, which is not necessarily my speed, not really the person that I like to be. I don't like to be this Mr. Center of Attention, but I thought it was really awesome that every single room that I walked into, just like how I told you, like, you make those jokes because you relate to me. It's like I almost felt like I was out on an island by myself, and I realized I wasn't.
Yeah.
And so many guys in the world could relate, even though they hadn't punched out of an airplane. They can relate to this, looking at death in the eyeball or having a traumatic experience. It didn't matter like what the actual mishap or incident was. Is like, I know what that feels like, dude. Even though mine wasn't caused by an airplane, it was caused by this, that, or the other. And I just wanted to be able to give guys a platform to share like that. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
that's kind of like where the vision all started out from. And so one of my old instructors that helped me out, he is also a previous ejector. And so he reached out to me just to help me get through the process. And
private club, like a country club.
It's pretty exclusive. So he reached out to me, just kind of helped me walk through like what that process is going to look like what the investigation is going to look like. And then more so like, dude, what it's going to feel like to climb up that ladder again, man. I'll never forget that first sortie back. It was like my first time back in that airplane all over again. Just scared out of my mind. So thankful that I got to fly with somebody that I respect in our jet, probably more than anybody else in this world. He's an incredible dude. He was our weapons officer at the time, and he's in Vegas now. But he's just a great dude. And I remember as we got out to go fly and got to drop my first time ever dropping live weapons, got to go fly and drop bombs, shoot the gun. and then came back to land, and he stayed up in the air with me until I was on the ground. Then we got back and he landed, because normally if you fly in a 2-ship, number 1 lands first, number 2 lands second. Chronologically, it makes sense, right? But he went around and made sure I could get down on the ground safely, and he landed behind me. And I asked him about it later, and I was like, "Why'd you do that?" And he was like, "Dude, I just wanted you to know, like, I was gonna stay up in the air for as long as it took for you to get back down safely. Like, I was not gonna leave you hanging up there, and like you were never on an island, and I wanted to show you that today. Like, you were not on an island out there. Like, I was with you just as much as the entire squadron was on that first flight." So just like, it was really, really cool, man. And I just want to say, like, if you ever have an opportunity in your life to make somebody else feel like they're not out on an island, like, don't hesitate to take it, dude. Because like that moment sticks with me still more so than anything. And like changed the relationship that I have with that guy. And like, he will forever be like the fighter pilot that I want to be, just because of one flight. And I remember we were going out to take off, and I had some issues with the jet that day, and we were working through them. And he was like, "Well, man, like, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "Dude, if we don't take off in the next 3 minutes, like, I'm probably gonna bitch out of this thing." He was like, "Sweet, push tower, we're taking off." And I was like, "All right, man, we're doing it." I remember putting the gear in the well for the first time again. And I was just like, "Oh man, I'm really doing this. Like, we've bought it now. We got to handle it, And it's exactly what I'm talking about. Is like, and that flight was healing for me, but it was also one of the most terrifying days of my life. And just to go back to, like, healing isn't always fun, dude. Like, healing is you working through stuff and doing it the hard way. That's how you really get healing. Otherwise, you're just treating a symptom, not a problem. Right. And so going back over to our elk hunt, like, that was really the first time that I had true silence and true peace in the environment that I was in a really long time. And it was a lot of internal dialogues for 10 days straight, if you can imagine. And man, it was fantastic for me. It was so good. And I'm super blessed to say that I did not deserve to kill an elk at all. And somehow, some way, I killed an elk on the very first day with the help of a lot of really good guys, and sheer dumb luck. But killed an elk on the first day. So the next 9 days were just trying to help them fill their tags, and a lot of time just sitting and thinking, because I didn't have like you go on a hunt and you don't kill anything by day 6. Like, now you're like really itching. You're like, man, I got to get this done. All you can think about is the hunt. And I imagine you guys can relate to this as an outfitter. Like, if you help a guy kill early, it's like, oh, it's like such a like breath of fresh air. Like, well, now I'm out here. It's like, what else do I think about now? Because if your client hasn't killed something, all you can think about is getting your client on an animal, right? It's like, it allowed my mind to open up the scope and really lean in. And I just got to address a lot of the demons that have been, swept under the rug, for lack of a better word. And it was fantastic, dude. And so, like, never, Fester said the words to me, like, dude, hunting is healing. And like, I'm sure that's a coined phrase. It's been around forever, but dude, it really is so true. I can't say it enough, man. Like, it is, it's changed me, who I am as a person. It's given me something that I look forward to doing every year. It's given me more motivation to work hard at work while I am there, so I can justify going back out to those mountains. And like, dude, I know for a fact next time I get to go elk hunting and I just am laying down staring up at stars or the bottom part of a tent, and there's nothing going on, but just I hear animals walking out around me or bugling out in the night, and there's nothing there but thoughts and demons and scars. Like, I need to go rehash that every single year to make sure, like, keep them in check. You know what I'm saying? The demons don't get fought; they get too big.
I agree.
Does that make sense?
I mean, we've had the old pillow talks about it.
Man, all the pillow talks, dude.
That's my favorite part of hunting is, sharing a good night with another man.
Good night's rest with the fellas. But dude, that got real heavy here.
No, I mean, it does though. Life be heavy, bro.
Be heavy.
Life's real.
Yeah, it is.
So I think that for a lot of guys, like, that's what hunting can be, and that's what it should be, dude. Is whether it's going out in the mountains or whether it's waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go climb into a tree stand. Like, I don't care how old you get, walking into a tree stand in the middle of the dark through the woods, it's a little scary. But like, you need to go do it.
There's nothing to scare you out there. What do
you never know.
No. Now my tree stand out on my island, that's a bit sketch.
Yeah. See, you get it.
See, I've shot a pig every time I've come back and forth from that.
Okay, bragging is open. Cool.
No. I'm just saying, like,
this is not going to be a podcast, but all the things that we
do.
kill.
I do get a little fearful in the morning.
It's
walking
sketch,
through the salt cedars that are 12 foot tall.
Yeah,
and there's pigs there because you've shot them every time you walk back.
Like they're there.
Yeah, but you get the
You're like,
safety
Oh,
of
he
your blind,
definitely is
and
worried about it.
now it's
Yeah,
just you and all
it,
your demons.
it creeps you out. It creeps you out.
For sure. But I wanna give a shout out to for the guys that did go on the elk hunt with. We got there and dude, it was such a trip. Just kind of like the same deer hunting stories. It was just a huge mess. I was working the night before. We drove all the way through the night to get up there, and we ended up calling a last minute audible and hunting on top of a ski resort. And sure enough, next thing you know, we go hiking out day one just to get acclimated to the altitude, really, because we're not mountain men here in Oklahoma. Uh, and I'm wearing my waterproof duck hunting Yeti backpack that I only have to keep cameras dry. I've got no game bags. I think I have one knife on me and like a bottle of water, and that's it. And then sure enough, my buddy calls a bull into 14 yards, and all three of us, the two guys that have bull tags, are lined up. And I'm like, all right, dude, this tree is the dividing line, and if he walks to the right, I'll shoot it. And if he walks to the left, you'll shoot it. I mean, sure enough, he just walked right up to that tree and then curled his neck around it. I mean, and I stared at him for a while at full draw. I was like, I don't know what to do here, dude. Like, I didn't really want my first elk to be a frontal, but I did my research and where to put the arrow. And I was like, I mean, I can do it, I think, but I'm going to wait for him to turn broadside, if you will. And he stood there for a second, and then you could tell he realized, like, those are humans. Like, I don't like what's here. And he went like that. He was like sketched out. He was like, I see something there. I don't like it. And as soon as he popped that chin up, dude, I was like, well, it's now or never, Teddy. And sent it. And sure enough, he barreled up about 200 yards away. And I was like, man, I cannot believe that happened. And my buddy told me that morning, he was like, dude, you're going to kill a bull because you don't have anything that you need with you to kill a bull. Like, you have one bottle of water. You have no game bags. I was like, dude, I'm just here. I got my camera. I'm just here for you guys. And I got my bow just in case. But like, let's be real. Like, this is our first morning out here. We have no idea what this terrain looks like. Like, we did e-scouting, but that was really it. And sure enough, homeboy came a barking up. Like, we were upwind of him. He like walked up a mountain straight to us, and he shouldn't have. And I'm just convinced I shot a retarded elk, but it's fine. It's fine. He tastes real good.
It was
you
just
can't say
meant to
that.
be.
Can't say that.
No, we can't drop our words either.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, very good. But yeah, dude, it was really, really cool. And that was a very long day because he ran, of course, as is tradition, straight down the mountain. So we're like 5 miles away from camp, and a mile and a half of that is straight up like a 50-degree valley to go up, fingered to go up and get to the top. And oh, it was miserable. And took 2 trips to get all the meat back. And on the trip 2, the pin that we dropped wasn't exactly accurate. So we get down at the bottom of this valley, and then we were just like grid searching for like 2 hours to find the carcass again. And it was like we were like 200 yards off, and we just never checked that one direction, you know? So we walked everywhere but where the carcass was, and we eventually found it and got back. But I think I walked like 20 miles that day. Most of it was uphill, and I was just like, oh, this is what elk hunting is, huh? I was like, well, my feet hurt, but I love it. I'd do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. Like when you're like super underprepared and like not ready for anything to happen, that's like when everything happens. And it's like bittersweet though. It's awesome. Like it's amazing. But it's just like, dang, I wish I was prepared. Like, because you have everything you need, but it's just not with you.
Yeah, it was
around
a
you,
camp.
like, at
Doing
that
me a whole
moment.
lot of good.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's definitely kind of how it goes.
yeah, man, just did not expect, and sure enough, it happened. So, but also, dude, like that's life, you know. Like curveballs show up, good and bad. Like the one thing that you don't expect to happen is always the thing that happens.
You just gotta be
you
a hitter, bro. You just gotta be a hitter.
Just gotta be a hitter.
Doesn't matter what pitch is thrown.
Yeah, I'm hitting over the fence, dog. So
Hitting or striking out, that's all I ever did.
yeah, no
Ain't no walks in here.
I just got hit.
Oh, you just ate it, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take
Yeah.
it, dude. But yeah, dude. So, elk hunt, like, just it really did solidify as like for so many reasons. Like, one, I love it. It's awesome. Like, that was an adrenaline rush and emotion that I have never felt while hunting, for sure. Like, I personally got to be a part of the roller coaster, not just watch somebody else do it. It was,
Explain to me your roller coaster, because I don't know about Cole. I don't really feel like I have a roller coaster. So I'm
Okay.
curious, like what from your perspective, what it does
Yeah.
when you get.
Mine was just so much. It was like doubt. It was like, there's no way this is happening.
Ah,
And
okay.
and seriously, like even while I was at full draw, I was like, there's no way this is gonna happen. And then he showed up and he was only giving me a frontal. And I was still like, there's no way this is going to happen. And it took about 0.2 seconds of him like opening up and me being like, well, I guess this is happening. And then sure enough, punch the trigger. Classic. And made it happen. I was like, I can't believe it happened. And then I got burned though deer hunting last year on an archery shot. And so after like 20 minutes, he's like, let's start blood trailing this thing. I was like, no, sir, we're waiting an hour at least. So we set a timer on our phone, like 1 hour, timer went off. Then we start walking. We're about 200 yards in, give or take, and still on a blood trail. I mean, he's leaking. I was like, man, doubt's back. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the same thing is going to happen. I looked for this other deer that I shot that was a toad for 3 days, never found him, bumped him on day 2, and never saw him again. I was like, it's just going to be the same story written all over again, but now it's just going to hurt even worse because I got a way longer walk back to camp. And then I'm like blood trailing him, trying to be real quiet. Because like my game plan was he's going to be alive. I want to sneak up on him and put another arrow in him if I have to. Right. So I'm telling all the guys like we're not running to do this. We're going slow. We're being methodical. Like I'm stalking this animal to put another arrow in him. And we're about 200 yards across the way. And my buddy Tyler starts yelling. And I was like, look at him. And he was like, you want to go find your bull or like go put your hands on your bull? And I was like, there's no way. And I look up and sure enough, there he is laid up in a tree. I was like, man, it really did happen. So like over the course of, in 2 minutes of this bull coming into calls, all doubt, 2 seconds of pure adrenaline, another hour and a half of doubt, and then another, the next 3 hours were just pure joy, and then quickly followed by pure misery. Getting the animal out of there because those bastards are heavy. So that's like how I say the roller coaster. That's what I mean. Is that you buy that?
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's fair.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know if I just don't think about it or I don't have a bunch of emotion in it. I don't know.
Yeah, but that was mine. There's really the biggest one was doubt for sure.
Oh, I have that a lot. Yeah, I get that a lot with the old whitetails.
It's weird. I mean, like I think I'm a lot like Ryan, where like most things just kind of like unfaze me and it doesn't bother me. It might just be because we like hunt so much, but like there has been an instance like trying to kill an elk before that like I could barely pull back my bow and I felt like a little girl just because I was like shaking and so excited. It's like I've been there where you're just like, oh my gosh, like this is really happening. I didn't expect this to happen. But yeah, it's like not the norm, but like when it does happen, it's like, holy heck, this is really cool. Like, even if I can't make it happen, it's just like, dang, like just feeling that and like the emotion of it. It's like, oh, it's just. Like,
I don't think
it still makes me excited.
I don't think those emotions or things are absent from me. I just don't think I think I'm so just locked in. I'm all bricked up. I don't even think about it. You know what I mean?
No, not usually. I'm the same way. And like most people, it's probably the opposite. But like if I'm rifle hunting, I get way more like excited and like almost like buck fevers, you could say, like looking at something in a scope where like if I'm pulling back my bow, I'm just like locked in. It's easy, like super easy, no stress. But like in a gun, when I can like see it magnified in crosshairs, I'm like, oh gosh, like this is happening. I got to make a good shot, you know?
That's how I was though.
Well, Primo, let's talk about what you shoot with a bow. My God.
Yeah, that's Trent Teddy Meisel. Shameless plug. Go look up Fortune Hunting Co. on YouTube's. And if you want some cool swag, we just got our new shirts in. They're gonna be released soon. If you like Cole's hat, they're also on our website. So go watch our films. We're trying to make another one this year. A film is about a hunter, not just the hunting. So hunt for more, man.
Pleasure.
That's my more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, heck yeah.
It was
I like
good.
it.
So you dude.
It's been a pleasure.
Been a pleasure.
With you.
Episode
Talking
3
with you. Sleeping in campers with you.
Yeah, it's a highlight, dude. Can't wait for more.
We just got to get a wall tent going now.
Yeah, Ryan got to learn the hard way that I have sleep apnea, so that was sick. Kid saws logs like you read about.
Who, you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Look at this beak I got on me, dude.
Yeah.
It's built for sawing.
Oh man.
Next week though is gonna be big old Ryan Gentry's backstory, and then talking about some draw stuff as well, because the deadline's coming up here pretty soon.
Yeah, we'll hit that one right after.
Okay.
We won't do it in one.
Yeah.
The draw's too in depth. So.
Oh, for sure.
Yes, sir.
Things to expect for next week.
Yeah, we'll probably drop the draw episode. Let's see on the old calendar. deadline is Wednesday the 19th.
Yeah.
We will probably do our best to put that out
That weekend prior.
prior to that weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be like the first technical podcast of directly hunting relating stuff. Not so much who we are, what we are. You know, the nonsense. That'll be a little bit of thick in the details, how to draw some tags.
Yeah.
Since at the end of the day, you know, we're here to kill some.
We're here to hunt.
some stuff.
Not
I
dinks.
don't want to shoot
No
me some
dinks in here.
deers. Huh?
No dinks in here, you know?
Ah, heck no. Ain't no dinks. You gotta shoot some deers, bro. So, can't shoot deers without tags or elks or whatever that the fat dude says. What does he say? Elks? The elks?
The elks? I don't know.
Yeah. Who's that fat guy that Cole likes?
Oh no.
Me?
I shouldn't call him fat. He's lost weight. No, not you. I can't
Talking about
remember.
Nipplesworth.
Nate Nipplesworth.
Nate Nipplesworth. It's a
I
name
don't
we
think
have.
that's his name, though.
All right, this podcast has been brought to you by Nate Nipplesworth. Thank you.
Shout
so much
out.
for
He's
your
lost
shout
weight.
out.
He's lost a lot of weight. I think
Just
Cole
all
thinks
I
he's
nipple
hope
fat.
now.
we cut that out.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean,
We'll
game
see.
recognized game, right?
All right, everyone. Peace.
Later.